Good morning, Anchorage, Alaska, the lower 48, and the rest of the world. This is Bruce Lindquist with this podcast, Wonderful Counselor. If you've been with me, you know I'm a Christ follower, and that there's only one wonderful counselor, and that is my Lord and Savior Jesus. You also know I've been a counselor for 39 years, and I've been writing and recording these podcasts over the last few years to an international audience. Wonderful Counselor Podcast continues to bring to you Coffee House Theater. It's a mini-series that is called Hide and Seek. Episode 1 was titled, Does Love Have an Evil Twin Sister? Episode 2, Hide and Seek. Episode 3, Come Find Me. Episode 4, Demonize the Body Count. Episode 5, Candy Meets the Serial Killer. Episode 6, Good Old Joe. And Episode 7, The Nothing People. Before I begin tonight's episode, if you are listening to Episode 6 and thought it was inappropriate and too dark, then you've been warned. No children should ever listen to this, and only teenagers after parents review its contents. The last episode, Joe needed some character development and a backstory. Now I realize listening to a serial killer kill his prey is not meant to be pleasant, unless of course you're a serial killer. The content of this episode is so disturbing, and it's also quite unsettling. Nightmares may occur after listening to this episode. If you've been listening to the last episode, it was a cliffhanger, and it begged the question, does Amanda kill her dad? Does Joe kill her? Or does she become like her dad? The answer is happening now. But first, a recap from Episode 6, Good Old Joe. Joe drove to a desolate park, backed his truck up to a solitary wooden bench. They searched the park. There was no sign of Misty anywhere. Joe shared, I know this is not the timing, but it is a family tradition to give you your birthday surprise today. And this will help you with your fears about what happened to Misty. Amanda shared, Dad, I don't think that's possible. Do you trust me? Said Joe. I trust you, Dad, said Amanda. Then close your eyes and do not for any circumstances open them. And she promised. Amanda heard a whirling sound coming from the truck. Joe put on yellow rubber gloves and dragged Misty to the bench and placed her in the sitting position. Joe could have done anything to her. She was barely alive. Her body was her tomb. He then put Peg, her dead dog, next to her and put her hand on his head like she was petting him. Joe looked into Misty's eyes. She was dissociating. He shook her and then whispered, You're safe, Misty. Amanda's here. And her mind that had left her body returned, and she stared at Joe and her best friend. Joe then walked to his daughter and said, Open your hand. And Amanda did. He placed one of her new scalpels she got for her birthday in it, and then said, Close your hand, Amanda. She felt the scalpel in her hand, and then Joe explained, Our family has a ritual, a rite of passage, if you will. Amanda said, What is that horrible smell, Dad? It's an animal. You're about to put out of its misery. It was caught in a trap. I've been trying to nurse it to health, and you're a doctor. Your rite of passage is to end its suffering. Do you trust me? I trust you, Dad, said Amanda. Joe then led Amanda to put the scalpel right on Misty's neck. Misty felt the blade. She begged in her mind for her life. I'm not an animal, Amanda. I'm your best friend. Please don't do this. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. But her mind screams faded away. She heard the words from Joe. Now try your blade and make an incision and end this poor pitiful creature's life. Amanda shared, I trust you, Dad, and slit Misty's throat, and the crimson blood started to drip from her neck. Now open your eyes, said Joe. At first Amanda's mind could not conceive what she was seeing. She was looking into the most terrified face, one of a million nightmares, and it was her childhood friend Misty. She looked at the scalpel in her hand. It was covered in her blood. Amanda couldn't speak. She was frozen. Her mind couldn't comprehend. She'd just cut her best friend's throat. She kept looking into her eyes. It was the most horrifying sight she'd ever seen. Amanda looked again at the bloody scalpel in her hand, then looked into Misty's eyes. Her tortured body. She couldn't imagine how much she had suffered. Misty was still alive, and Amanda's thoughts were like echoes, like howling unforgiven wind. I just slit my best friend's throat. Amanda's voice now was like a whisper. You tortured her, Dad. How could you have done that? She loved you. You were like a dad and a grandpa after her dad died. She was my best friend. Amanda could feel the rage building with every word she said. Joe, in his calm and gentle voice, said, I didn't torture her at all. I simply created an environment for her to torture herself. I didn't beat her face into the plexiglass container lid as she tried to gasp for air. I didn't break her nails as she clawed to try to get out. She's the one who panicked. I didn't cover her with dog feces. I merely put the bags on her like she left in our yard and trash can. She's the one who smeared the dog crap all over her body and then drank it, I suppose. She could have called out for help at any time. She chose not to. When I opened the container a few minutes ago, she could have run, but she chose to stay and let me do whatever I wished to her. When you approached with your scalpel, she could have yelled, Open your eyes, but she didn't. All of these were her choices, and now you have a choice to make. I'm not a murderer like you, said Amanda. Joe spoke again. You are willing to kill to prove your womanhood, which you have. I thought it was a suffering animal. Joe shared. She was. And you are slowly ending her mercifully, although now prolonging it. You now have a choice, said Joe, and I'm not responsible for that choice. You are. Amanda looked at her best friend and then the scalpel. Joe shared in his relaxing voice, which was now sending shivers down Amanda's spine. I know you want to save your friend, and to do that you must kill me, or try. You are in medical school. Do you really think there's anything you can do to save her? As there's not much blood left in her body. Did you notice the change in her skin tone? Her bowels are about to let go. Soon she will be dead. Amanda said, I can still kill you. Well, you can try, said Joe. But if you don't, I will kill you, and I will toss your body in a ditch like it was roadkill. Oh, before you consider, if you kill me, that would be 2 people you murdered with your scalpel in less than 30 minutes, and that would break my record. And once you taste blood, that much blood, you will most likely end up like me anyway. The hour is getting late, so here's your choice. Try and kill me, and let me be your mentor of death. Amanda whirled with the scalpel to plunge it in the heart of her dad. But as the blade was coming down, covered in Misty's blood, just inches away from Joe, a silent clicking sound happened in her brain, and she stopped. Amanda looked into her dad's eyes. All her emotions were gone. She felt nothing. Come, Amanda, let's sit on the bed of the truck. I have some coffee, encouraged Joe. She accepted his suggestion and said as he was pouring the cup of coffee, Dad, you know, I find this drink bitter. Just taste it, said Joe. Amanda did, and it tasted sweet, and drank all that was in her cup. She requested more. Joe poured another cup, this time with a caution. Drink it slowly. Your brain is going through a change. You will need to practice self-control, as your legacy will depend upon it. Amanda initially was like a 3-year-old who had a lot of why questions for her dad. Instead of, though, asking, why is the sky blue or the sun orange, her first question was, why don't I feel? Joe explained, in nature, the great white shark, the top of the food chain in the ocean, doesn't feel when it rips the head off a seal, it just kills. Amanda said, I used to feel love and joy and happiness. Will I miss those feelings? No, said Joe. You will not feel fear, anxiety, guilt, or grief. Amanda said in a childlike voice, I suppose those would get in the way when I kill. Amanda's brain was exponentially increasing. In development, her limbic emotional brain was mostly offline. Her prefrontal cortex was growing. She then looked at Misty. I feel nothing towards her, and she was my best friend. Yes, said Joe. You have no attachment to anyone. That is how I could have killed you without a second thought. You would have killed me? Said Amanda. And Joe shared. I would have slit your throat, watched you slowly die, begging for your life until you died. Then I would have thrown you in the plastic container at the dump site, tossed your bled-out carcass into the ditch. I mean nothing to you? Said Amanda. And Joe said, No, and I'm to mean nothing to you, except to be your mentor of death. Amanda looked at what was left of Misty, a shell of herself. Amanda's brain was now more like a teenager. She asked her dad, Why did we kill? Joe shared, I'll explain that to you more later. Amanda thought for a moment. She saw Misty as more than a playmate. Dad, we take everything from those we kill. Misty could hear every word. Amanda walked over, got close to Misty, and looked her right in the eyes. I took everything from you. You will never enjoy sex again, never be a wife, a mom, a grandmother, all your dreams and hopes and goals. I took everything you will ever have or ever will be. I made you into nothing. Joe shared, Yes, when you kill people perfectly, you leave them as nothing. Amanda paused and thought for a moment. We make nothing people. Joe agreed. And you'll make hundreds, if not thousands, of nothing people. Amanda now had reached adulthood in her brain. Dad, why did you leave her with her clothes on? I mean, if you're going to take everything from her, why not strip her naked? I would think that would make her into more of a nothing, covered in shame and humiliation, exposed for the world to see, than leaving her clothes on. Joe shared, We leave her clothed, not because we want to avoid humiliation or expose our prey. We do it because we must stay pure killing machines. If you stripped her naked, your brain may not continue to develop because other parts of your brain would fire off. Dad, said Amanda, does that mean I can't enjoy sex anymore? Joe looked at his daughter. Of course you can. You must not mix sexual desire and killing. Otherwise, we would over the time seek to exist. Your ancestors made that mistake and combined both. That is not how you survive. Can I have children still? Said Amanda. Yes, said Joe, and you can enjoy doing so far more than most women because of the changes to your brain. Dad, why do women have to be 25? I get to kill. Joe shared, because that is the age of your first kill. Amanda continued to think of questions. Can I kill boys or men? No, said Joe. Your brain connects to the sex and age of your first kill. Well, I suppose there are a lot of 25-year-old women to make into nothing people, said Amanda. Dad, why did you have to blindfold me to kill? Joe shared, my dad did the same to me. I loved my older sister, but when she turned 25, my dad knew if I was going to become a killing machine like he was, I would have to kill her and watch her tortured body slowly die. I wouldn't have been able to kill her without the ritual, and not knowing who or what I was killing, just killing. When I saw I had slit the neck of my sister, I was like you. I tried to kill my dad, but my brain changed. Remember that clicking sound? How you see Misty is how I saw my sister. I was much more merciful to you than he was to me. Amanda asked, "What did you do?" Joe shared, "I slit her throat and wanted to put her out of her misery, but Dad made me watch. And then the unthinkable happened. With my eyes open, meeting her eyes, I stabbed her again, and I felt nothing. That's when my dad knew I was ready." "Do you want me to stab Misty again?" asked Amanda, lifting her scalpel. "No," said Joe. "Look at her. She is about dead. If you slit her neck again, you would lose that time for her to suffer." "It's all about control, isn't it?" said Amanda. "Yes," said her father. "You need to be in control. That way your brain will continue to develop. At a faster rate, you need to outthink your prey." Amanda stared at Misty and said, "Dad, it must have taken you a while to perfect your craft. How many Misties have you practiced on?" "Hundreds," said Joe. Amanda looked into her dad's eyes and asked, "Will I ever be a master like you?" "You'll be more of a master at your craft, but it will take a lot of practice," said Joe. Amanda said, "It's a good thing there are a lot of women out there to practice on." Amanda looked at her dad again. "Are you sure I can only kill 25-year-old women? I think about killing a 25-year-old man. Mix it up a bit. Maybe even kill a couple at once, or even a whole family." "Only 25-year-old women," said Joe. "But there is the domino effect. You can start it right now. But first you need to do some cleanup." So Joe brought out the cleaning supplies, and Amanda cleaned and sterilized the container, and Joe showed her how to hide it in the truck. Amanda looked at Misty. Could she really hear when she was in the container? "Of course," said Joe, "every word." Amanda continued, "It is really quite something, Dad. You tortured her and teased her with hope. I learned when the human body dissociates, it leaves the body. She must have done that. How were you able to bring her back?" "I gave her hope and safe passage to return," said Joe. "I told her you were here and that she was safe." "So she was now experiencing everything?" asked Amanda. "Yes," said Joe. "Terror in every cell of her body, conscious and fully aware." "Any final thoughts?" asked Joe. "She was your best friend." "Well," she looked at Misty and then said, "she was an irresponsible dog owner." Amanda asked, "Do I get to throw her body in the ditch when she's dead?" "No," said Joe. "She needs to be found right where she is." Amanda looked at her dad and commented, "We're like wolves, aren't we? Instead of pissing on the ground to mark our territory, we throw away bodies." Joe shared, "I hadn't thought of it that way, but if that's how you want to frame it, after all, it is your kill." Amanda shared, "My next prey, I will throw away like I'm pissing on the ground." Joe looked at Amanda. "You want to play with your prey, don't you?" Amanda admitted, "Yes, but there isn't much left of her." "Well," said Joe, "there is the domino effect, and it isn't sex or age limited. I will tell you more later," said Joe. Amanda cleaned up the area, and she looked at Misty. She really wanted to take her clothes off, but her brain wouldn't let her. Joe gave Amanda the instructions and handed her the phone. Amanda called the police and reached the dispatch office in Anchorage and asked for Officer O'Reilly. Megan picked up the phone. "Hi," said Amanda, in the same emotionless voice of her dad. "I hear you're looking for a young woman who's missing. I was hiking on Oak Creek Park and found a wounded woman in need of medical care, and she's dying. Yes, I'll stay on the phone until you get here." Then Amanda hung up. Joe shared, "You did well. Let's go. I have so much to show you." "More killing?" said Amanda, in a robot-like voice. "Oh, yes, my daughter. You have a lifetime of killing ahead of you." "Well, I have plenty of scalpels," said Amanda. Megan and Officer Hendershot and the FBI agent Milton Fillmore drove like the wind to the park, with the ambulance and the fire truck not far behind. Joe turned off the road out of sight, watching the frantic vehicles with sirens blazing headed for the park, and then drove home. It was starting to approach dusk when the headlights of Megan's police car caught an image of a woman sitting on a bench with her dog. Megan approached quickly ahead of the others, calling out, "Candy, Misty," and then just stopped dead in her tracks. Megan, for as long as she lives, will never forget the look of horror on the young woman's face. The other young officers would be haunted for the rest of their life. Some deposited their lunch into the nearby bushes. The smell from Misty's body burned the eyes and nose, and what their eyes saw crawled into their minds. Megan looked at Misty. She was alive. Somehow she was alive. Misty was transported to the ambulance. The staff wore hazmat suits. They started an IV blood transfusion. Normally, you're looking for matching blood types. They didn't have the time. They washed all the blood and feces off of her body, and the ambulance transported her to the hospital with zero chance of living. The FBI officer shared with Megan, in all the years of seeing bodies killed, he had not ever seen a more tortured face. Joe explained to Amanda on the way driving home, "Some of their brains will be able to take what they saw when they look at Misty, but there will be those haunted by it. They will end their life because the nightmares will not leave them." Although Joe couldn't predict the future, 2 of the officers did commit suicide because they were afraid to go to sleep, and a bullet was their only peace that they could find. Joe and Amanda walked into the house. She was confused what role her mother played in all of this, since she isn't really one of them. Joan was so proud of her daughter, she passed the ritual to be a woman. Amanda shared, "I have so many questions for both of you. The first being, what do you get out of this arrangement, Mom?" Joan laughed. "Well, no more dog crap in the trash can or yard." Amanda asked, "I mean from your marriage to my dad." "Well, dear, most men are emotionally and many unfaithfully available and unfit to be husbands and providers. I don't worry about those things with your father. He is as loyal as they come, and I know he won't kill me. I'm not 25. Amanda was blunt and a bit preoccupied with sex. "What is it like, Mom, to have Dad as your lover? I only ask because I want to be a lover for my husband." "Well, if you're like us, dear, when you find the right guy, and it will take you a while. Your dad had no problems in the bedroom. He left me breathless every time. He's very determined to have a child, and when your dad is determined, it is not stopping him until conception. I had to go to the gym to keep up, but I was up for the challenge, and so was he." "Sex is primeval," said Joe. "You will find without emotional sensation, your physical sensation will go through the roof. And in my case, your mom got to benefit from it." Amanda said, "I thought you told me no attachments." Joe shared, "I'm not attached to your mom. She's attached to me." Amanda asked, "You would kill her if she was 25. And Joe shared without hesitation, "But she's not 25. Amanda asked her mom, "Do you know what Dad did to Misty and what he had me do to her?" Joan looked at her daughter. "I love you, and all I care about is you. If it meant you had to kill Misty to be who you were intended to be, I'm happy for you, dear." Amanda said, "I really like killing, Mom." Joan looked at Amanda. "I know you do, dear. But as your dad said, you need to remain neutral, whether the person dies or lives." Joe shared, "Yes, no change in heartbeat, and if it's like you're buttering bread or slitting a woman's throat." Amanda asked her mom, with her emotions, how does she process Misty's death? Joan shared, "I loved Misty when she was alive. I cherish my time with her just as I do with all those I love. Some people, death comes as a surprise. I knew it'd either be her or you, and I was prepared for either death." "It could have been me, Mom," said Amanda. "Why, yes, dear. If it weren't for Misty, you would be begging to die. I know when women turn 25 and meet your father, she will die in some horrible way. But now he's figured out a way for them to torture themselves to death, which makes my heart lighter, since he isn't killing them anymore. He's mellowed out. I used to find dead women all over the place. Mom, since I've lived, I'm not sure when I'm going to be moving out, but can I bring these women home and kill them there? Here? Well, that depends, dear. You must promise no blood on the carpet, and you must clean up after yourself. Joe shared, I think it's appropriate you kill your second woman in your bedroom. Oh, I would like that, said Amanda. I would like that a lot. We'll see how things go, said Joe. But remember, self-control, sex and death do not go together. I will keep them clothed, I promise. I can use my imagination. Be careful with that, said Joe. Let's go upstairs. I have more to show you. Amanda went with her father to the loft area where a large picture glass window looked at Pioneer Peak, covered majestically with snow and ice. Joe shared more about the domino effect. Amanda's ears pricked up because if she could kill other than 25-year-old women, she wanted to know how. When you kill, said Joe, your prey is connected to many people. Amanda said, oh, I get it. I can kill a woman and not only make her into a nothing person, but I can torment those who know her. Joe shared, exactly. Let's take Misty, for example. In about 30 minutes after the police arrive to Becky, her mother, she'll be so broken-hearted, she will take those pills, down it with alcohol, and crash through her bedroom upstairs window and break her neck. Amanda said, I don't make them into nothing people, but impact all those who know them, and some of them might even kill themselves because of what I did. Yes, said Joe. Dad, said Amanda, you killed hundreds, but through the domino effect you may be killing thousands. Joe shared, and that is why you must never be attached to anyone or anything. Amanda imagined all of those families in emotional ruin. Because of her, she couldn't wait. Joe sensed his daughter was starting to lose control. He saw that earlier, and now it's happening again. So he slapped her and knocked her into the corner of the wall. Amanda got up with her face reddening. I understand, Dad. My passions must be under control. I'm learning, though. Thank you for not killing me. Joe sat down at his desk and placed 2 books before her. The first was a Bible, and Amanda shared, I have read this before. Joe shared, yes, but there is truth in it, and this truth points to our origins. Joe instructed Amanda to read it again with your new brain and tell me what you understand. Amanda read about the Garden of Eden, God, Adam and Eve, and the serpent, and the tree of knowledge and good and evil. Do you see what happens to them when the serpent tempts them to eat of the tree? Said Joe. Amanda shared, they could have eaten from any tree, but not that one. So, Dad, are we the highest form of life on the food chain? Joe looked at his daughter and said, yes, but not spiritually. The mind can be easily tempted to lose control, and that comes from a decision. Look at what the decision costs them. Joe continued, the serpent convinced them to trust him because he said God lied to them, and when he was the one who was lying. Before your transformation, you trusted me, and I lied to you, and that lie led to you killing Misty. But a lie is not good or evil. It's simply a tool. Misty shared, that was quite a lie when you convinced Misty she was safe and trust you, like the serpent, and we got to torture her even more. So I need to convince people that I'm safe when really I'm going to kill them, said Amanda. That is one smart serpent. So do we come from God, said Amanda. No, said Joe. We come from Lucifer. He's our father. You will understand more as you continue to read. Amanda shared, Cain killed Abel, the first murderer in the Bible. What do you notice about Cain? Asked Joe. He was emotional, said Amanda. His countenance dropped. What do you learn from his example? Asked Joe. We kill without emotion, said Amanda. That is correct, said Joe. Emotions are useless to us and can lead us to being out of control. What do you see in the story of the flood? That evil was all that man thought of or did. Being preoccupied with your prey will be your destruction. You will be swept away and drowned by your desires. You must keep them in check. Amanda read it in Exodus. Pharaoh killed all those babies. Why, said Joe. Out of fear, said Amanda. You must not fear anyone, said Joe. Amanda read about the children of Israel sacrificing their babies to other gods. Joe shared, you must not kill in the name of any god or gods. Amanda read, because you are not a god. Amanda read about the babies slaughtered when Christ was born. She shared Herod tried to keep his kingdom by killing. Once again he feared. Joe shared, we have no kingdom to lose. We are not kings or queens. Our survival doesn't depend on killing. Our ancestors made that mistake, and we almost became extinct. Amanda then read about the crucifixion of Christ, and in the book of Romans, how sin leads to death. Is this Jesus a myth or a man who died? Asked Amanda. Joe shared, just as Lucifer is our father, this Jesus is real, and God and that cross and his resurrection is as well. Amanda looked at her father. We are sin, conceived by Lucifer's lies, and will always lead to death. Joe shared, yes, we represent what the Bible calls having a blood disease, and Jesus is the blood that ends the disease. Amanda shared, it says he's coming back. And Joe shared, and when he does, we will all perish. Amanda looked at her father. Well, we'll keep killing until he stops us. He hasn't stopped you. Amanda, said Joe, that time is coming. There's more you need to know about our kind. In the Bible it says that angels mated with women. The first to do this was Lucifer and his demons. This also brought a blood disease that caused our ancestors to hunt in packs. They murdered men, women, and children. Entire villages turned to ashes. Then came the armies of men and their weapons, and many of us were killed. To survive, we first changed into man-like beasts, into the old werewolf lore, to men and women with fangs, who hypnotized the men and women with the sound of our voices and eyes, and we fled on their blood, but not all of them. Dad, we were vampires? Asked Amanda. And we changed, because we mated with women. And they still hunted us, and after time we had no fangs. We were more human, and started to develop our brains. It took thousands of years to bring us to this point. This is where our intellect controls our lives, not our emotions. Amanda shared, is that why sex is reserved for us in a controlled setting? We do not want our brains to return to our primal state they were? Yes, said Joe. The more you grow your intellect, the less uncontrollable you are. Sex needs to be, in your case, with one man you are to procreate with. It would be many generations that over the course of time for us to become more civilized. The predator learned to act and look like the hunter the prey runs from, but instead, just the opposite, like that which the prey comes to. There was no need of speed of a cheetah or the sheer power of a great white shark. Over the years, our brains have changed, and we are the product of a hunter who could put the hunting into the back of their mind and present as the safest person in the world. How many of us are left? Asked Amanda. I don't know, said Joe. But I do know only a select few have reached the intellect we have. You read in history in present day serial rapists and the like. They get caught every time because they are controlled by their lusts, and that makes them very prone to error. Amanda asked her dad, why do we watch them bleed out? Joe shared, because as far as our brains have developed, instead of sucking out their blood, we watch the blood leave their bodies. My daughters, you are only doing what your brain is developed to do. So each time I kill, I control my brain and it gets stronger? Yes, said Joe. As you practice, it'll be like humans playing chess. They're playing chess on a one-dimensional board, and you're playing on a three-dimensional chessboard. So I outsmart my prey. That is how I kill them, said Amanda. Yes, said Joe. But watch out for pride. The Bible is right. when it says pride comes before the fall. I kill because I am, said Amanda. Thank you, Father, for sharing this with me. Joe handed her a copy of the Bible and their family of origin book. Well, said Joe, it's time. Amanda looked out the window. Soon Becky would be ending her life and that domino effect. Joe waited. Becky did not crash through the window. Joe shared. It has started. Amanda asked why she didn't die. And Joe shared. There's only one reason. Misty isn't dead yet. Amanda shared that isn't possible. I killed her. And Joe shared. There is no way she would have survived if not the hand of God saved her. I must leave now. But first he gave his daughter a birthday gift to give to her older twin sister who lived in another state. Send it to her with these instructions. Amanda read what Joe gave her and said, I'm going to hunt just like you, Dad. Misty in the hospital hours ago was pronounced dead. However, during her autopsy, the saw started to remove body parts for organ donations, and she miraculously came back to life and missed being dissected. She called her mom just before she was going to take the pills, and her mom lived. The domino effect. Misty would take a long time to recover, but she would. The news reached the police station, and Megan and the FBI agent met with her. Misty shared she didn't remember much at all. She just remembered a man and a woman's voice saying they were making her into nothing person, and Misty broke down into tears. Megan held her as her trauma recovery would be long and painful. It would take months to physically recover and many years to mentally recover, if ever. Candy hung on her collar, waiting for Joe to return. The other 10 women knew their lives were about to end. Joe turned the lights on, and the machine whirled in front of him. The first of the 10 women were about to die. He clicked on the monitors, and the betting began. This one didn't last very long. The woman from Spain won $10,000. Each woman died. The monitors came on, and applause for the winners and disappointment for the losers. Candy never felt so helpless in all her life. She just watched each one of the women suffer and die, and there was nothing she could do about it, and she was next. Joe then clicked another switch, and Megan and the FBI agent jumped out of their seats. The leg monitor on Candy's leg was working. The agent called the local helicopters and ambulance and police cars. All of them descended on the location of the signal, which was just above Willow, Alaska, on a side road from the main highway. Silent running, said the FBI agent, and asked what the helicopter was seeing. There's a Quonset hut. We don't see anyone, said the agent. Okay, go on. And the FBI agents and police descended, and they surrounded the hut with guns on all sides. No one comes in or out, said the agent, and trained snipers were in position. They peered into the hut and saw 50 bodies shrouded in black, hanging on hooks by leather collars. Megan and the FBI agent went in after the all-clear signal was given. Megan called the medical team. How do we get them out of these collars, she asked. Megan then found a woman with a leg monitor. Megan said, Candy, we found you, and then looked at the woman. It wasn't Candy. How's that possible, asked Megan. And then she looked at the woman's leg. It had been sawed off and replaced by Candy's leg with an attached monitor. Megan cried out, he cut off Candy's leg. If she's even alive. Megan felt the dread descend. Just then, a screen clicked on. A pre-recorded movie played. It was Joe. The picture was blacked out. FBI Agent Milton Fillmore, I've decided to reward your efforts. It must have been very difficult, finding those 100 tortured dead women bodies, and having their pictures haunt your dreams to the point you're now like me. Your heart is hard. You're attached to nothing. You don't even feel anymore when you see their bodies. Do you know how close you came to catching me? Why, I was so close, I was breathing on your neck, and you were unaware. You don't even have life anymore. I am your life. You wouldn't exist without me. Your training, however, is not complete. On the collars of each woman is a knob from 1 to 4. You can try to take off the collar, but turn the collar to the wrong number and they will die. I made sure each of the women are still alive. I will not kill them. You will. I simply gave you the environment to make a choice. Well, which ones will you let live or die? If you choose to do nothing, they will die anyway. The tubing draining their blood is attached to an artery, and if moved in any way, the blood will pour out of their bodies like a waterfall. You notice the floor is clean and sterile. I would appreciate it if you keep it that way. You'll know which ones die when you hear their necks break and their heads fall to their chests. The way I calculate it, 95% of the women will live. Which ones will die, FBI agent? You must kill them to find out. The collars will not be removed any other way. If you try to cut them, remove the tubing, there are other devices which you cannot see, and they will kill them all quite painfully. Who lives and who dies? Oh, and that Candy, you were wondering? It's your fault. I had to saw off her leg and attach it to the nurse. I just couldn't figure out how to remove the monitor, so I took off her leg instead. You need to save someone, Agent, but it won't be Candy, for she dies tonight. Megan looked at the FBI agent. They all will bleed out if you don't decide. Who will live and who will die? Will Candy die to the highest bidder? Will Amanda get blood on the carpet and not be able to kill in her room again? Find out in the next episode titled Legacy of Blood.